Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as you do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today started his acting career at the age of 5 as the milk-mustached kid in many Carnation Milk commercials. He got his SAG card as a Pepsi Slice black belt for their ad campaign. He received his first big break while working out at a Los Angeles karate school, while producer Roy Horan was canvassing the town in search of a replacement for Jean Claude Van Damme for the film No Retreat, No Surrender 2, Raging Thunder. He beat out more than 75 actors who auditioned. Variety called him the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Bruce Lee. You've also seen him in films such as Blood Brothers, King of the Kickboxers, Operation Golden Phoenix, Silent Force, and more. He wrote, produced, and starred in Deadly Ransom. He's worked as a stuntman and fight choreographer on hundreds of episodes of TV shows, including many of my favorites like Alias and Chuck. And he feels one of his greatest accomplishments is his Emmy Award as a stuntman. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Loren Avedon. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well, Brian. Pleasure to be with you.
Hey, I appreciate the time, and I'm glad. I believe it was Keith Vitale that told me to reach out to you, so I'm kind of glad he gave me that idea.
Hey, that's my blood brother. I love Keith. He's absolutely the most, such a gentleman, and, you know, he was one of my idols growing up. I would go to the newsstand to see all the karate mags when they'd come out, and he was always on the cover of one or two of them.
Nice.
And then I got to make a film with him, and I was just absolutely out of my mind happy. And I started doing 2-a-days because I already knew what to expect from No Retreat, No Surrender 2, Raging Thunder, that they were going to beat the living you-know-what out of me. And I was ready. I was doing 2-a-days, 3 hours, in the morning training, this and that, and then 3 hours in 6 months, and showed up and met Keith Vitale and made that epic movie. I really think it's one of the great fight scenes, all of the Chinese choreography and all of their crazy ideas. It was just, the audiences ate it up. So I'm very blessed.
That's awesome. Well, what I want to do is I want to back up. I want to go all the way to the beginning, and I want to know where that first spark, where that first interest for martial arts came from, and kind of what launched your martial arts journey.
Well, it's pretty simple. I think I'm just like hundreds and thousands and probably millions of people. I saw Bruce Lee's Chinese Connection when I was about 10 and a half in Bath, England. I was living in London with my mom, of course, and we were doing the Lake District, and we were traveling around. We stayed in the town of Bath, and my mother's friend's son, Tyler, said, "I'm going to go see this movie. You want to go?" I said, "Sure." So I went there, not knowing it was rated X because of the violence.
Wow.
And I had to be 17. So I just bullied my way in by telling the poor British gal at the ticket booth, "Give me the ticket." And she did. And I was just blown away because, of course, Chinese Connection is just such an amazing film. When you look at it, it holds up today. It is, I think, just to add on, the nostalgia of the old martial arts films has started to, become in vogue again, or is having a reboot, because there's so much interest in some of us, shall we say, first gen or a golden age of Hong Kong actors. And so you might see Keith and I together again doing something, hopefully soon. We just need to put together the idea and find some investors, which shouldn't be too hard, and start doing it again, because there's a need for it. So much need for content, Brian, but the other part of it is it's the ground pounding. That hurt. That guy took it. It's not CGI. It's nothing but real, and people really, really enjoy that. And I still, every day I get, something from somebody saying, hey, I'm so glad that, did those films and so forth. So really,
Yeah.
really lucky that I was chosen.
I know, like William Zapka says in one of the newer seasons of Cobra Kai, he says old school karate, and I love the way he said that. I'm like, yes, we need that, and we miss that. We miss the old school karate.
True. So in just before 18, when I signed up at Junchong Taekwondo, where Philip Rhee and Simon Rhee were teaching, and all these greats like Bill Wallace would come in and teach, and this and that. We signed up to learn how to fight. We didn't sign up with any other sort of, I didn't. I know, and a lot of the guys didn't. We wanted to learn how to fight and stay on our feet, and be the best. And Jun Chung really had incredible dynamics in the methods that he would teach. He taught footwork a lot, and we also learned boxing. We learned a lot of stuff, and I got to mix it up with a lot of great martial artists. Because it seemed to be like almost, I don't know, like a magnet for great athletes. So I'm very, very lucky and blessed, really.
Now, was that your first official school after seeing that movie until you were almost, 17 years old? Was that your first official school, or did you try any before that?
Oh, I tried things, but, I was a poor kid in Beverly Hills. So basically they had stuff at Roxbury Park, after school that I tried. And, it was a lesson in how to take a beating. They weren't teaching anything. And then another chap was teaching in the swim gym at Beverly Hills High. And again, there was no structure, nothing. But I had friends I went to school with that were going to Junchong. And they were really, great. If I'd ask them, hey man, show me a kick or two or whatever, they were really terrific. And I said, wow, this is the place to go. So a week after I bought my first car, broke, I had all my books for school, going to college and all that. I begged my mom after I saw this guy, after I took a Simon Rhee class, intro class. And I just begged my mom to please 6-month contract. I have to do this. It's incredible. So I spent the summer basically at the school every day like a sponge. Master Chung, I can remember saying to me, Loren, go do something. Don't be here all the time. And I had just found, it was like church, man. It was like I had walked in to the place where I belonged, and I wanted to know everything I could and learn. And thank God, these were some of the greatest martial artists. And I can say that with confidence, around. So
that's cool. That's
there you
so
go.
cool.
I'm lucky, very lucky.
Did you ever get involved in the competition? I know you said you got into it to learn how to fight. Did you ever get into the competition side?
Yes, I did. But, I mean, we would go down to San Diego and fight in tournaments. I can remember going to San Diego and going across to Tijuana. I was still like a red belt or something, and got, pickled and had a hangover and everything. And I didn't, really feel like fighting. But it turns out, there was a good thing that I was grumpy, because I had went through 4 round robins and won this. I was in a heavyweight division because everybody else was already assigned. And so here I am with these 220 pound, I'm maybe 165 pounds soaking wet. And I was just, I remember did a jumping split back kick and hit this guy in the forehead.
Wow.
I did some competition, but I would go to other style tournaments and show up, wearing my Taekwondo patch or whatever, and most likely get robbed, because they're all, pulling for their players or whatever. And, I'd kick some guy right in the face and, put his nose over by his ear, and the guy would scoop kick me. That's a Kempo, groin technique, right? Which is just like a little donkey kick to the groin. And he gets the point. Meanwhile, this guy's bleeding out of his ear, and, his face is not the same, but he gets the point. Okay. But I wanted to test my wills and my wear on other styles. So I went to every competition I could and did so through, first on black belt as well. I would go and represent, and it was mandatory for us to go and when we get into upper level advanced belt to compete. And Master Chung had a tournament every year for juvenile diabetes. All proceeds would go to that. So yeah, I mixed it up a lot. I came home with a lot of bruises and, a lot of experiences. And then on Sundays, if there wasn't a tournament, there was a group of black belts James War, Chris Williams, Vernon Velmanet, all of these incredible fighters. And this started when I was a blue belt, which is the first advanced rank. And I would go and train with them. I asked if I could train with them, and you know what? They weren't whooping my ass. They were showing me how to do it. And I'm so grateful to them because they really schooled me well. And so I wanted to do everything, Brian. You know what I mean? I wanted to be like Bruce Lee. I wanted to be a superior technician. And that turns out I did pretty good.
That's awesome. See, that actually reminds me a little bit of my, some of my training when I got into Taekwondo in college, and the second school I ended up at, met a friend, and we connected and found out that the instructor had given him a key, and there were like 4 or 5 guys who would go in on weekends or stay late after class and can I come? And they're like, sure. And yeah, for years, there was times where we were at the gym 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Class would get done. We'd be there another 4 hours afterwards practicing and doing technique. We'd be there all day Sunday, all day Saturday, and I miss those days. I really do.
Me too, buddy. Me too, because it was all and lucky. I don't know. I guess I'm blessed. My father and my mother they had very fast reflexes. And my dad, bless his heart, he's at rest at Arlington, but he was a fighter pilot in 2 wars, World War II and in Korea, and his call sign was Deadeye. Nice. So I had that speed. I had that. And then you develop, this, Brian, you develop, what somebody's going to do by their footwork, their positioning, whatever it is. You already know what's going to happen, so you're ready with the counter. Right. Or you set them up, or you do whatever. So, then came the problem that I was so bored fighting with all the same black belts. There was 75 or 80 black belts at Juncheon. We'd have black belt meeting once a month, every Saturday morning, 7 a.m., and I could whoop all of them, and I could get pretty close to Master Ree and all that. Master Chung stopped sparring with me after about 2.5 years because of my long legs, I guess, and he just knew that, it's not going to be him whooping me anymore. It's going to be me going, oops, sorry, sir. Mm-hmm. And so, it was brilliant. And then I ended up teaching there quite a long, for till 91. And then I opened up my own schools and kind of was a Ronin for a while, but no, I loved it. It was the best education in, being a humble gentleman and being a superior athlete and just having that mind, body, spirit together. And, I still love it. I'm so grateful to the martial arts and to Taekwondo and to what it's given me, because I eventually met a grandmaster who was one of the founders of the Kukkiwon in Korea. So from 2000 to about 2009, I was traveling all over the world. I'd been to Korea about 8 times, tested there, did this, did that, but I would be at these tournaments all over the world. And I got my international referee certification. I did a lot of after-school teaching programs when I could in the hoods of LA. I'm talking Lawndale, Linwood, Inglewood, Compton, Hawthorne, Lenox, after-school programs on site. So you keep the kids, away from the bangers and away from the drug dealers, and when they're vulnerable between 3 and 6 when the parents aren't home. Mm-hmm. I did that in Hawaii when I lived there for free. Just, parents, I had 45 students before the lava came. And, wow. And it was phenomenal. I just love it. It is, it's Brian, it's a place or people that you meet where there's just automatic understanding. Mm-hmm. Now, all these McDojos and stuff that you see today, and the belt already and the certificate or whatever already on the desk for these people, that are teaching, whether kids or adults, really bothers me, because I had to chew my nails and wait for 2 weeks to find out if I had passed or not. Wow. And, so there's a lot of stuff that I know you have experienced, but it's a different world now. It's more of a business. So, and also Hapkido. I've got a 9th Dan in both arts, mm-hmm. and it's combat Hapkido. So it's something that is pretty nasty. So I'm one of these guys where I would, if something happened out there in the world, I couldn't do anything except maybe get hit, and then I could execute, because they're going to say, well, all this stuff, how come he's down and you don't have a scratch, that kind of thing. But yeah, we don't do that. We always project energy of positivity and relating and love and peace. And then you just say mentally, you just put on your armor, you say, I am, I'm ready to die. If you're ready to die, let me help you. That's my prayer when I fight, if I were to fight on the street. And it doesn't happen because they all look at me and they see that I'm relaxed. I'm looking all of them. There's no fear. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. And then with the movies, you have to show, the pain and the this and the that, totally the opposite of,
Yeah.
when you're actually training and fighting. But I'm very, very lucky, Brian. I'm so blessed because I have been so many places, and thank God for the movies. I inspired a lot of people too,
Yeah,
just like
definitely.
Bruce did. I'm so blessed, really.
And I definitely want to get into the movies, but first you mentioned the teaching. What kind of drew you to the teaching aspect of martial arts? Because I know it's definitely not for everyone, and in my experience, it takes a special person to be a good teacher. So what kind of led you down that road for a while?
Well, first of all, I had great examples. I had my dad was a super guy, but he wasn't around when I was growing up. So I found these male role models, and it was part of the curriculum at Junxiang that before you test for black belt, you must be able to teach. You must know everything that you should know, right? From
Wow.
white belt all the way up to first dan and then into second degree. So I was made to be a teacher's assistant during that time. And then I was given the day class. I can remember I taught Ronald Reagan Jr., I taught
Nice.
Sage Stallone privately. I taught all of these people because this was kind of a mecca. So what drew me to it was that I could see that people, needed the inspiration and also the proper understanding of technique. And that was just a natural for me to lead a class and to help develop others that wish to learn martial arts and show them, what they can do. It's up to them always,
Mm-hmm.
right? But show them what to do. I got such a, I don't know, for lack of a better word, I was so exhilarated. It made me high, knowing that I helped that person to overcome their fear and to learn how to move and to develop confidence. And, our creed at Junxiang was wonderful. So it was just, I just drew to it like a moth to the flame without, the ending.
Right.
It was a natural thing for me because I was able to, I had almost the whole UCLA defensive line and offensive line coming to my day classes because this one big burly kid came in about 2:30 and he couldn't touch me, like I would just move ever so slightly, or I'd say just don't, no hike, no nothing. Just try to tackle me. Go ahead. And I'm like 3 feet away from him and I'm gone and he's on his face. So he's telling his friends, come on, you got to do this, man. You got to try this. And he'd say, and then I just touch him in a certain way and he'd go off balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. But it comes from, Brian, it comes from doing, you learn and you feel and time becomes irrelevant when you're in that mode, you're in that space of, whether it's 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 5-on-1, doesn't matter. You're in this space. So what drew me to it was the reward of seeing someone achieve and do something they thought they never could do. And then, of course, teaching kids. I tell you, the California Youth Karate Club and what I did with them in the LA County Sheriff's Department and got all those kids to, get free training at the schools on site. I can't describe the feeling of, I'm going to start to cry here thinking about it. How wonderful it was to be involved in something so positive.
That's cool.
And so that's it. I mean, it was just a natural. I had 2 schools. I had one in City of Orange, and then I had one in Northridge on Reseda Boulevard that, of course, after the Northridge earthquake was not there anymore. But it was a great ride, and I still do it today. I still do it if someone will ask me to do a seminar or this.
Mm-hmm.
I will do it. No more helicopter kicks, though. That's off the table.
Think back to that very first class you taught to now. You're still teaching, you're still doing seminars. What do you think has changed the most about your teaching style over the years?
Well, basically, you always assess, the person and their body type, their reaction time, if they or skill or their mobility, their body mechanics. And, what it is if anything, what I try to do is to instill in them the understanding that if they set their mind to it, they can do anything, so you have to start, and put the time in, right? So here we are, we're going to practice something, we're going to learn something special today. but it's every day what you do. So that becomes the way of life, right? It's my way.
Hmm.
It's a way of life. So, I mean, what can I say? I've taught a lot of people what they didn't know that they could do. And that is so wonderful.
I like that. Very cool. Well, I'm curious now. You're kind of your prime with Taekwondo was in the 80s. So at any point, did you consider trying to go for the Olympics when it first hit back then?
No, I was trained in the original sort of ITF style because Jun Chung in whatever he was allied with Chuck Norris, and
Hmm.
he didn't want to, and we also learned Hapkido as well as Taekwondo. So the Olympic style, when it came along, changed a lot of things
Yeah.
in 1988, but I got more interested in that when I started to train with my buddy, JJ Perry, who's now a big movie director and all that. I gave him some of his first stunt jobs. He's just an amazing guy. And he opened up a school in Inglewood. And I would go there and train. Everybody said, "Are you out of your mind going down there? You're going to get shot and this and that and the other thing." I was like, "No, I'm not out of my mind. You don't understand. These people love it. They're down there. They can't afford, for their kid to go get a tennis lesson this day or, go golfing or go do this. They have to choose something, right? And of course, self-defense and martial arts is huge. So I would go down there and there's all these bangers kids, all the shot callers kids. Nobody ever touched that school or anything, and I did that for a while JJ was teaching down there. And then I opened up my schools and so on and so forth. So I just, what can I say? It's a hard road to hoe.
Yeah.
There's very few that, especially after COVID, a lot of schools have gone away.
Unfortunately.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, but Olympic style for me now is really sorry, world, but pathetic.
Hmm.
They don't have a 36 by 36 mat with a 3 foot, border. They have this little octagon-y kind of thing. And, these guys are grabbing each other, holding each other, and then trying to do these lame inside crescent kicks or something to touch the head, whatever. Whereas when I started to transition and I learned and I was learning the Hogu, first of all, I couldn't always, but I can take it to the body. I mean, I've had stomach reconstruction because of all the body shots and
Wow.
whatever else. Yeah. I wouldn't be talking to you today. I'd be dead.
Jeez.
But if without the surgery. But the thing about it is, this, Brian, if you can't take it to the body, dude, you're done.
Yeah.
So you got to protect the coconut. But the
Definitely.
thing about it is this Olympic style is really, it's not what it was. It was so incredibly explosive. And I can remember the only way that you could score was what was called trembling shock.
Yep.
So you had to hit someone hard enough that it created that. And it was wonderful in the beginning. But now and as I'm older now, I'm not going to be trying. First of all, you kick somebody, that's assault with a deadly weapon. That's the law. Defending yourself, fine. But I'm more interested in the Hapkido and in the other, sort of basic use anything as a weapon technique. And
Yep.
that's what I train now. I still can do the splits and do all the stuff, but my back is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
You destroy yourself. My wrist been
Oh yeah.
broken 5 times.
Yep.
You know how it is, man. So, and doctors are like, well, we don't know how you walk. I said, well, why would you say that to me? I said, I walk by getting up, putting one foot in front of the other. I said, but yeah, your body, your spine, you're this, you're that. And I said, yeah, that's why I don't listen to you. So, because they don't understand what you understand and all martial artists understand that really get into it, that you're in control of your body. And if your mind is strong enough, you can heal yourself. You can make yourself do, now that doesn't apply to a lot of things.
Right.
But to physical injuries and things like that, yes, you're limited maybe because your bones are messed up. Like all of the little bones in my wrist, they're one solid calcium deposit now in my right wrist.
Wow.
But that doesn't matter. I can still punch a brick wall or a concrete wall, and that's basically all I need. But from the Hapkido, from the knock up falls, from this, from that. They got busted, but back in those days, you taped it up, you did whatever. I didn't have the money to go to a hospital to have it casted.
Mm-hmm.
One time I did when I broke a metacarpal. on my right hand, because that's the only way. That's a boxer's fracture. It's the only way it's going to heal. But whatever. I don't care, man. I still would do it all again in a second. And the stunting and all of it, I would do it in a heartbeat.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, and me, if I listened to doctors, I would have had complete reconstructive surgery on my knee 30 years ago, and I still haven't had it done. And every time I go in, get like an MRI or something like that, they're like, when did you have your knee rebuilt? I'm like, I haven't. They just look at me and they're like, and you still do all this stuff? I'm like, yeah. You deal with it. But what's funny is almost 40 years. I started martial arts in 84. So it'll be 40 years this summer. The most serious injury I've had from martial arts is a broken toe. I've had worse, like my knee injury when I completely blew up my knee. That was from kickball in gym class. I fractured my wrist. I've sprained everything. But yeah, broken toe and a fractured knuckle were my most serious martial arts injuries.
Both probably the toe. You probably kicked somebody's elbow when they were doing whatever.
No, I was actually trying to do a board break and didn't pull my toe back far enough. So, yep.
Well, that's gotta hurt. Let me tell you, that's gotta hurt.
And the fractured wrist, I was actually blocking someone's punch. He threw the best punch and I threw the best block, and they just connected, and it was like, ow.
I know the ow. Trust me. I know a lot about the ows. But that's what's so great about, the mind, body, spirit. You learn to control that, contain it, and not go into that. You can, right? You did that. You control it. And the fact of the matter is in your knee, the same thing. Now we're learning so much about nutrition, about this, how to reverse heart disease by, eating these foods and all of this stuff. So, look, but back in the day, there wasn't anybody, we weren't pro athletes, and nobody was going to come along and immediately take us to get an MRI or this or that. You just fucking taped it up. You taped it up and you kept going. So my toenails black. So what? I'm going to kick the other foot. Anyway, that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's really, really, really cool. So you must have been pretty slick yourself. So good for you.
I had my time. Obviously, that was years ago when I was younger, but
hey, man, your time is the master of us all. So I totally get it.
That is true. So talk a little bit about your first degree black belt test. What do you remember about that?
Oh my God. Okay. So first, Master Chung had told me after about 3.5 years of being in the school, which is you had to put at least 4 years in, and you had to do a lot of certain things. They weren't going to, and then old school, Master Chung would tell you when you could test.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me after 3.5 years, I had my red belt double stripe, and then the next was first dan black belt. I said, sir, I don't feel like I'm ready for it. And I just didn't feel like I was ready for it. And, it wasn't anything in particular, but when I finally signed up and was ready to take my black belt test, it was with two other fellow candidates, Tom Keller and Tammy Goldsmith. And we were all pals and all that stuff. But and I brought a second brick. You see, you had to break a brick as part of your test. And I brought two because Tammy was testing, and I'm sorry, but they're a little chauvinistic, the Koreans there, especially in 1980, 1985. And so, Master Chung says, oh, Loren, you break two. And I said, yes, sir. And dude, I had not slept for a week. I was absolutely on point, on edge. The two toughest tests for me, white to yellow belt, and then first dan black belt. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew I was going to have to fight multiple opponents all at once, whatever. That didn't bother me. So it was an amazing experience at the school. And I can remember my dad actually came, and I got a picture from a good friend of my mother's who had the timing of me going through those two bricks.
Nice.
Perfectly snapped into. I asked Master Chung if I could take off my dobok top or my gi top. And I was just a stick, dude. I was literally but you know what? Those were steel cables, and so were my legs. They were steel cables. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I went through the bricks like butter. I got knocked down once on the 3-on-1, but it was a great day. It was about 4.5 hours of going through every single thing. And then fighting, and then we had to do some flying double kick board break, and then some other breaks with with the real pine boards, not these little wimpy, skinny demo boards that they use today. So I killed all that and then broke the bricks. And that was it. And then I was, again, chewing my nails for 2 weeks, wondering if I passed. And then one day I came to night class, to the advanced class. And I believe it was Master Chung and Master Philip Ree was there on that night. And they were both on the mat teaching. And Tammy was there. And I think Tom was there too. And it was a surprise, basically. They said, okay, Loren, you come up front. Yes, sir. And you stand there, and out came the black belt, which had some school name on it and my name on it, embroidered. And he said, turn around and remove your belt. So I turned around, because you don't face your instructor when you fix your uniform or your belt. And turned around, and then I can't remember if it was Master Chung or Master Ree wrapped a belt around my waist. And man, it was just... And automatically, Brian, I became 30% better, I'm sure, like immediately.
Of course.
and then I eventually started teaching the day class, and then helping Master Ree with the kids class and teaching the kids class, beginning and intermediate and advanced, and all of that, So it was just a journey. And then when I came back from Thailand, from King of the Kickboxers, I tested for my second Dan, and that was a 2-day test. We did it once in the dojo, and then the next day in a park in North Hollywood. So I had a little trouble with the bricks that day. Not blaming it on the grass or anything. I'm blaming it on me not being conditioned. I just come back from King of the Kickboxers. I wasn't hitting the makiwara or one of those 10-pound plates of, because you just sit there. You take a weight, one of the old weight plates, put it in between your legs, and you just keep banging it. Just keep banging it. Toughen up your palm, or that area where you're gonna break. And I hadn't been doing that, but that was that. So the first Dan black belt I postponed for 1.5 years until I felt that I deserved it and that I was ready.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of when I was getting ready for my black belt test, I remember I worked in an office, and I had a half of a patio brick at my desk, and while I was like taking customer phone calls, I'm just sitting there, knife handing it, punching it, and all my coworkers are like, "The hell are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's just the desk. It's not you. So just mind your business.
That's right.
That's cool.
You mentioned a few of the movies. So what kind of led to that? How did Hollywood, was that something you wanted to do? How did that happen and start off for you?
Sure. Well, truthfully, my mother was in advertising when I was, itty bitty. When I came along in 1962, she'd already been a creative director, producer of television commercials. And so I grew up, I was in her tummy on the set, so basically she didn't push me for acting. She didn't push me for anything. I had a chance when I was 5 years old to do a live. The problem with the producer, because they chose me over this other kid, was that the producer said to me, "You're going to be in front of millions of people," and all this stuff. And I went, "No, I'm 5 years old." But anyway, so I did a lot of those print ads and everything because my mom had the account. My mom had the account for Carnation and all of that. So, a lot of that was just, my mother knew everybody. We went to all these Hollywood parties and all this stuff. I was her escort in later years to many as well. But getting back to, doing acting or any of that stuff, that was totally on a lark. I was at my doctor's house. Everybody who couldn't pay their bill was at Dr. David Gann's house. I think he's long gone now. Painting, sanding, wax a floor, wax on, wax off, paying their bill.
Mm-hmm.
And this chap was there playing a guitar. We were taking a break, and he's like, "You should come to my acting class, man. You'd be good." I'm like, "I don't think so." But he said, "Just come." I said, "All right, fine." It was across the street from the Beverly Center in West Hollywood in LA. So I went, and it was a class of 12, and then dude handed me a scene to read, and I'm standing up here in front of 12 people. Now I can stand in front of 70 black belts and tell them what to do, and I get "yes, sir," and they do it. But I'm shaking like a leaf, holding the piece of paper with some words on it, that I have to say to someone else, just basically do a scene. And that really bothered me, really. So I started taking, thank God it was Stanislavski Meisner technique, acting classes with Alan Landers. And I'd just come back from Africa and had no money, was, sleeping on my mom's couch and whatnot, because I was there for 6 weeks. I couldn't afford to keep an apartment and, pay bills. I needed the money to spend there. And went with my father, did the whole thing with his wife and so forth, and had an amazing time. So came back and was at the school at night, had the key, of course, and was punching the crap out of the bag because I'm trying to sell used cars at Claude Short Dodge and haven't sold a one. And I haven't been able to train. Well, Roy Horan calls from Seasonal Films in Hong Kong. I had no aspirations to do anything, I get my A card earlier that year by showing up for an audition for Pepsi Sliced Black Belts, where I met Ernie Reyes Sr. and I met the Castro twins and all of these incredible martial artists that I had seen over the years. So I had my Screen Actors Guild card, but that didn't mean anything. I was, I got 10 grand for 3 days of, being on a sound stage, jumping through water.
Wow.
It was stupid. But the 10 grand helped. But the thing about it is that eventually I figured, I can use this as a public speaker if I ever get into something and I need to address, a crowd other than black belts and students. And so I started taking the classes. And then I came back from Africa. The phone rings, 9:30 at night on a Friday night. Who calls this karate studio? I don't know, but this dude did. And I went and showed up the next day and auditioned and was signed to a 3-picture deal.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I beat out a bunch of others because it was a week before I got the phone call. And I didn't make much money on those movies, but I sure had a lot of fun and got a lot of experience, busted a lot of, broke a lot of, shall we say, sweat, and got used to getting, which I was used to anyway, getting the shit beat out of me. And that's how it got started. And then when I came home, Brian, I thought, okay, great. The movie's going to come out. It did. It came out of like more than 2,000 theaters, and we were doing a better per screen average than Red Scorpion. And the phone wasn't ringing. Nothing was happening. And then the film came out in the theaters. I saw it on Hollywood Boulevard, sweating bullets. I must have looked like some crazy maniac coming out of the theater, just sweat dripping, And, but I didn't, it just sort of happened. I don't know, they were always calling the karate studio for people who could kick and, wanted to be in a scene in a movie or be a part of a gang and do this. And I did that, thing with Jun Shang, which was fun, Ninja Turf and whatever, but man, it just happened. Everything is about, I don't know, I guess your destiny or the timing of it was absolutely perfect. And then I still didn't have the job even in Thailand. When I got to Bangkok, Yun Kwei in the middle of the night had me do some reactions. Next day, Matthias and I are doing a screen test in the parking lot of the Ambassador Hotel in Bangkok. And then we started rolling. Wow. And first scene I shot was with Max Thayer, Mac in the movie No Retreat 2, where we're overseeing or overlooking the Russian camp. All of these sets had already been built. Kurt McKinney, who I guess is doing a new No Retreat, No Surrender.
Really?
So bravo for him. Bravo for him. I saw a little 1-minute trailer teaser on YouTube.
Wow.
And now, I think they're going to make that happen. So that's great. That's what I was saying a little bit earlier to you. I don't know if we were recording or not, but this nostalgia for martial arts and real martial artists has come around, and I'm still here. So there's things brewing, but I'm honorable withdrawal from SAG. I'm on my pension, all that stuff, because I don't know about you, but I don't know that there's always going to be a SAG pension, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With so many things going on. And then I was in the Writers Guild for a minute, but that was just because I wrote a couple stories that became movies. That's fine. But, the fact of the matter is that Hopefully at the end of this month, I might be in Atlantic City, New Jersey. They're working on it right now to just, help with young up and coming guys who want to get into movies and do all this stuff. And then
Nice.
I'll be doing the Mile High Martial Arts Expo in April. I think it's 27th, 28th, or 26th, 27th, 28th of this year. I'll be in Denver. And we're going to do hopefully something pretty special. I can't really talk about it right now, but
Okay.
it involves, let's just say, a screening of one of the films. So that should be awesome.
Wow.
But there's all of this, people all the time. I don't have an agent. I've been off the grid. I lived in Hawaii for 9 years and, took care of my mom until her passing and all that stuff, So I always kind of put family first and realized, whatever's going to be is going to be. And oddly enough, audience, I made my money flipping houses and, banging and, swinging a hammer and doing stuff like that, in Los Angeles and in Hawaii and in parts outside of Los Angeles, in Kern County, Lake Isabella, all of these places. And that's how I made a couple of bucks that I can live on. Because those movies that I did, they didn't pay very much. And
Yeah.
people don't really understand that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I know that's the thing when the strike was going on and everyone was just like ripping all these high paid. It's like, no, it's not the high paid ones that this is for. It's for the ones that are barely scraping by that don't qualify for the health insurance. And it's like, not every actor makes $1 million a picture.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends who are actors and stuff. And I get that it's not as glamorous. I mean, yes, some do very well, but people enjoy what they do, but pay wise, it's not that glamorous.
No, I mean, and the fact is it's the right place, right time, and all of the bullshit you have to go through. And people say, oh, he was discovered overnight. No, dude's been doing it for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
So, that's very true. And so I had a little girl, I was married, all that, went through the divorce. So that cleaned me out. I was, so I went back into stunting because I was always getting calls from my pals going, hey man, why don't you come to the set? Why don't you work for, that I'm like, because you're either in the business an actor or a stunt person. Now they're starting to realize that you can be both.
Yeah.
But the stunt coordinators and, the fight choreographers, all of them, they would look at me. This is the days where you could still hustle. You could still find out. I was with Joni Stunt Service. So I would say, hey, is so-and-so, and I'd call my buddies. I say, are you working today? Where you were, or when are you working? And I'd go for a set visit, meet the coordinator. And a lot of them looking at me and they're like, you look familiar, or whatever. Or they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I need a job, so it's not all glamour.
Right.
It's hard work, and you got to have a thick skin, and you got to be ready for a lot of rejection and a lot of baloney from a lot of people. And the fact is that, I'm very lucky. I tried to start doing my own stuff, but again, the nature of the business is you are swimming with the sharks, and you're going to get bit or you're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah.
And I just got sick and tired of the daggers, sticking out of my back that I couldn't reach and I couldn't pull out. So I just focused on being a good dad and being a good son and kept training, kept teaching. I would drive out to Sylmar to teach every Saturday to teach the U.S. Eagles junior demonstration team.
Nice.
Because my grandmaster is his brother is the head of the team in Korea. There's 5 real. Well, there's more now, but there used to be only 5 real demo teams. The Tiger team, the Hidori team. Now you have the Kukiwan team. You have the Eagles team. You have a couple others. But, it was just so wonderful to be around it. It's something I miss so much. Now here I'm in Florida. I know Rick Martin. I'm 8 minutes away from where I did that awesome fight in the dojo where you see the sign, Rick Martin, Okinawan Ryu. And Rick and I went and introduced myself. Everybody's like, yeah, we know. We have that. But the half of the school had burned down, unfortunately. And he's an Okinawan Ryu guy, so it's a different way. But just to say that when you become a martial artist and you are involved so much in the sport aspect of martial arts, and you travel and you get to see, team members, U.S. team members. I coached a few that medaled in various games and in world games, Pan Am games and such. I mean, I can remember being in Quito, Ecuador. I'm getting my IR, my international referee, maybe certification. And the elevator goes up in this hotel we're at, and I see a young man come in, and he says, sweats say, Team USA Taekwondo. And I look at him and I say, how is your training going? And he said, very well, sir. You, I guess, don't remember me, sir, but I met you in 1994 at the Junior Olympics, and you signed my gold medal, and it's hanging in my room at Olympic Training Center.
That's cool.
And I got chicken skin right now thinking about it. And I got chicken skin in the elevator. But, so it's so amazing how many. And I can remember being in Russia at the fall of communism. We were scouting a film with Mosfilm, and I'm walking in this. It was the first Christian revelation or revival, as it were. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a denominational person. I am who I am and what I am. Mm-hmm. But believe in the Lord, of course. But there were 75,000 people there, and as I'm walking under the bleachers and behind stage, I'm hearing Kickboxer. So they had seen that film in communist era, times, and there I was, and they recognized me. It was amazing. It really was. And so the experiences that I've had and, the opportunities to affect lives, I feel, is just one of the greatest blessings. I can't imagine anything else, that surpasses helping someone else realize some of their potential. And then getting to travel and, one last thing, I know I'm mm-hmm. blabbing.
No, you're
but
fine.
I came back. My wife was Serbian, so I had to come back. Her brother, unfortunately, had a health condition that she needed to stay. But I came back and I forgot to pack my freaking Pepto-Bismol in the, the check-in bag. Oh. So they pull me aside, and I just happen to have, because a friend of mine brought me the Blu-ray release, the Blu-ray of King of the Kickboxers. It came out in Germany a couple of years ago. And so he looks at the guy. He speaks English. That's going through security. He sees the Blu-ray, and he looks at it because it's Karate Tiger in Europe. It were the series of films. First Karate Tiger was No Retreat, No Surrender, but this is Karate Tiger 5, I think, King of the Kickboxers. And there's my big mug on the Blu-ray, and I said, "That's me." And he's like, "Really?" And he's telling all the security down there. Karate Tiger. And I'm like, awesome. You can throw away the Pepto-Bismol if you want. He's like, no, that's fine. And he puts it back in there, and I flew and then swapped it out at JFK into the check-on bag. But
awesome.
Hey, it got me through security there 35 years later. But anyway, so little stuff happens like that every once in a while. But hopefully, right? What it is to be a martial artist, I think, is to help people and to always be of service. So I hope that continues, because I really miss teaching a lot. I really mm-hmm. miss engaging with others. We'll do that in a heartbeat. It's just, times are rough, and martial arts is not a real big money-making thing. It is for some.
Yeah. And
then they don't want anybody stealing their thunder, a lot of them, but a lot are very humble. And they would, invite me, or if there was a Taekwondo school here, there is one, but the guy, he's teaching a bunch of kids or whatever. But that's that, Brian. I mean, it's just an amazing thing how I went from zero to hero, broke, nothing, this or that. And that now, even today, since COVID, people started, plopping in their DVDs and, watching old movies. And now all of a sudden it's like a resurrection. So we'll see what happens. Nothing's guaranteed, but might be something that'll be pretty cool that, if I can come back and do some stuff, and we'll see about that.
I hope so. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. So, yeah, is there anything you want to know about any of the movies? Any hairy moments or anything?
Yeah, I mean, any stories you want to share. But I was just looking through your IMDb, and you were on 3 of my all-time favorite shows, which is so cool. You were on Martial Law, Alias, and Chuck. 3 of my all-time favorite shows.
That's where I got my Emmy. Is Chuck versus the Undercover Lover.
Nice.
I got the paper Emmy. Merritt Yonka, rest in peace. He got the statue. And, that was just Merritt bringing me in, and David Morzo, the fight coordinator who, just worshiped me. He's when I was there, I would be standing next to him, and chain of command. Now I'm a stuntman. I'm not a star, so I'm lower than a dog, on as far as crew is concerned. And Bruce Wayne user, do this, and it's just so fun to be a part of the team. That's really what it is it's a team. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And that was a fun episode to do, really. And I asked Zach Levy, because I'm supposed to do this fight with him that ends up, I end up kicking the both of them out of a window that's supposed to be 8 stories above a pool. But I had asked Zach, I said, do you mind if I, grab you a little bit and squeeze your cheeks or, give you a little, slap on the cheek? He didn't say anything to me, which means, hey, I'm the star of the show. I don't have to talk to you.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, man, it was fun to come and play because acting is great and all, but I would rather get a call to say, are you available on Tuesday? Yeah, well, good. You're working, wardrobe's going to give you a call, and you got, what about Thursday? Yeah, I'm all yours. Okay, you're working Thursday, you're working Monday next week too. And that's it. And then I don't know any other job. You go, you make $1,000
right
for 8 hours, and then more, and then more, and then more. So that really helped me get out of the hole, after all of the stuff. And I did that for about 10 years or so in LA. And I actually could have gone to Hawaii long, long before and transitioned when Howard Jackson was looking for a new stunt coordinator, and JJ Perry and Clayton Barber, they came in and did their demo, to try to get a job on the show. And I'm sitting on the side near the judges' tables, and they were coming over to me, and I'm like, good job, good job. So Howard Jackson dismissed everybody. Howard, may rest in peace. He's one of the greatest American karate. It was his school name, I believe, but one of the greatest martial artists of old, and African-American gentleman. So he asked me, he said, we'd like you to go replace Garrett Warren in Hawaii and coordinate this television show. And I said, Howard, I would love to, but I have to talk to my wife. And then I got home and I saw my little daughter, my little angel, and I just couldn't leave. So I called him up the next day and I said, sir, I can't do it, but thank you very much. So, I could have transitioned. I could have done a lot of things, but for me, family is first. And I had a little sweet daughter, and I couldn't leave her. So there you go. I'm a sucker, but what can I say?
Hey,
I would be
like you said, family first.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
That's cool. And I know you've worked with a few of my former guests. I mean, you've worked with, obviously we talked about Keith, you've worked with Cynthia. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. The martial arts community is for the most part tight knit. And I know you've got to work with some cool people, and I'm sure you're like Keith, you stayed friends with a lot of them, which is kind of cool. So
absolutely. And his son is working down here, lives down nearby, about 15 miles away, Travis. Yeah. But Keith's he's a gentleman. Yeah. He's just a wonderful guy. And just between you and I, a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
I didn't hear from him for a while, and he had gotten throat cancer, but he beat it. And
he's a fighter.
Now he's one of Dr. Bob Goldman's VIPs. He's going to go to all these events and do all this stuff. And, I'm so happy for him. And he started a podcast too.
Yep.
But
he talked about it when he was on my show. He was just getting ready to launch it. So he kind of broke it on my show, which was kind of cool. And
he's just got to find a new producer. That's why he's down for a minute. He's got to get a new producer on the show. So that's that. I mean, it's just it's such an amazing, I don't know, feeling or experience to go places and know these people. And, I got to say, Billy Blanks, for example, is one of the nicest people and just a gentleman. And about, his dyslexia and things like that. And it comes from a family of 10 kids. Yeah. And now Michael, one of his younger brothers, is doing a lot of stuff. I'm not quite sure what, but I was there with him. But I would go over there and for fight night and stuff. And nice. Billy and I would gear up, and Garrett Warren too, and and we would just mix it up and have a good time.
Yeah, Billy's on my list. He's one of the ones I'm hoping to get on the show someday. So I've put the request out, but no response yet. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
There you go. That's a tough egg to crack.
Oh yeah.
He likes to. He's a busy boy. So,
yeah. I can tell. I can tell.
I look forward to seeing how he looks in Last Kumite. They wanted me to be in that, but when they wrote the script, they had written this part called Loren, which I think Billy plays. And I thought that was going to be my part. And I was kind of just disappointed that they just wanted me to show up as a fighter. And I'm like,
okay.
you know what? Well, what I did is I just, you don't say no, you just don't talk to anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm not communicating with the producer, so they got to go move along. That's just being polite, because you really shouldn't say no. You should just be not available, and that's that. But I mean, I wish them the best with that. And Cynthia with Black Creek, I wish her the best. And it's just great to have, to be associated or be in the same room with, and I'm not saying level, I'm saying, in the same space as these people.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Oh, definitely. Now, you'd mentioned before that you got into it to learn how to fight. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on something like MMA and the UFC? And is that something you're a fan of?
Well, I in the beginning, it was a curiosity. I can't think of his name right now, but one of the, oh gosh darn it, it'll come to me. At first, it was a curiosity. It looked really kind of lame. The 600-pound guy getting palm hammer fisted by some dude. It was a blood sport, right? But whatever. The thing that bothered me about MMA or all of that is the fact that a lot of these fighters are not paid well, number one. Number two, they're going in there and they're really, I mean, this is a pancreation art, or a pancreation situation, meaning a pancreation art is you're the two last men on the battlefield of opposing forces. And now you're going to fight using whatever you can, I'm very glad that the late Senator John McCain.
Oh, John McCain, yep.
Made there be rounds and at least some gloves and so forth, because that, you're going to, it's so dangerous. Look, even in boxing, people die in the ring. Their brains separate from their skull or whatever it is. But with MMA, if you notice, all of the champions, they started with one art like Taekwondo or like BJJ, and they went up the ranks and they mastered that. Then they learned boxing, this, that, and the other thing. These days, you got kids that are full of vim and vigor. They're young and they're strong, but they don't have the technique. They don't have the understanding of what's going on in there. And it is nasty when you think about hitting that cage. I don't know if you've ever boxed or been in a boxing ring, for example, but those ropes hurt. Those ropes hurt when you get slammed or you slide across them or whatever. Well, I can't even imagine the cage. And then you get these guys, they got a couple of years of training. They're in great shape. And look, I've done some smokers for Muay Thai because I used to train at Boxing Works. And Brian's got an atom weight champion, I think, in Janet Todd. She's undefeated. And then he's got one more up and comer. But, these guys, I would go to these smokers and these guys are going bananas. But I would, at least it's Muay Thai. It's a stand-up art.
Yeah.
When you start getting on the ground and doing all that, all the BJJ stuff and all of the other, technique, for me, it's interesting, but it's also, there are still rules. If that were to happen to you or I would bite you. I would grab, your balls are right in my face. I would bite your freaking balls. So it's not really authentic in that sense. There's still rules. So, MMA fighters, if you notice, in the beginning, there really wasn't a respect aspect. There really wasn't the humility, which is a great asset and great idiom of, or a paradigm of being a true martial artist, is you being humble. And so all the trash talking and all the baloney and, whether it's Conor McGregor and what's his name, Floyd Mayweather, pumping stuff up. Look, I like to see great martial artists, do their thing and be unencumbered, like I think it was Shamrock and his
Shamrock.
Ben Shamrock and his brother, I think Frank as well. And they were just amazing. So these are guys that are incredible athletes, and they want to go in there and they want to see who's the better man. But when you get locked in a cage, doesn't that kind of remind you of Rome? And except there's no lions and tigers and there's no Caesar that will give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. So it's interesting to a point, but I'm a technician. I like to see beautiful technique executed.
Yeah.
And this is a blood sport. So, I just know that, look, if you have a passion for it, hey, good for you. I might have gotten into MMA, but let me tell you why I probably wouldn't have, because leverage on the ground for me. Now, I did, work at BJ Penn teaching at-risk youth, and, I would do stuff with them. But let me tell you, I had still the strength in my legs. This dude was going to show a technique, and I put him in my guard, and I started to squeeze. He couldn't breathe. So the whole thing is what I think about it, I guess, doesn't really matter. What matters is that, these fighters be trained and be able to have a longer shelf life than, say, 6 months, a year, something like that. You understand where they're there, and then they're injured for life. And then what do they do? Well, what are they going to do? Who are they going to be? When the ring girl's getting $75,000 to wiggle her ass and walk around the ring, and the fighter's getting maybe 5,000, something like that, because he's just starting out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's I mean, I'll watch it. Can I not wait for the next UFC? I don't care anymore, because I knew and I know too many people in the game and in the sport, and how they've turned out afterwards and what's happened to them. They're alcoholics or this. That's just the human condition. And I'm sorry for the long answer, but for me, I much prefer professional boxing. I much prefer, watching judo, for example.
Okay.
I have become a really a judo addict. I love looking at these things on Instagram of these ippons and all of these things. And the fact of the matter is that, I knew from a young age that my leverage or my abilities, right? Because this is when you teach seminars, or whatever, you want to explain to people that maybe, they're thinking about doing this or doing this, Krav Maga, whatever. Okay, so are you really willing to? Do you really want to start playing with knives and doing this and then? Okay, fine. But there are athletes out there that look. Ronda Rousey's for example, is a totally different animal.
Yeah.
Her mother was an Olympic champion. She was an Olympic champion. So if you have champions, and that's how she turned Dana White's mind around. He said, I will never have women in the ring or in the cage. Okay. So until Rousey came along and started breaking arms. And that's a shame too, it's like they'll tap or whatever, and then people are still choking, or they get into that primal mind, and I don't know. I don't think that's healthy. I just think I hope it's not something that continues on for very much longer, but I think it will, because people since the dawn of man have wanted to see contests of men mano a mano. And, I feel for these guys, for these athletes who, will train so hard. And then like with your knee, one little wrong move and now you're done. Yeah. Now, what are you going to do? So that's that. That's my humble opinion. Okay. But if they want to get in there and they want to throw down, I'm glad that McCain at least put some rules in place. They have, if they want, that's what, is wanted. And, that's what the people want, give it to them. But for me, it's not something. And I'll just say, and you can leave this in, that I have never watched an episode of Cobra Kai ever. And I probably never will.
Okay.
Because I've heard of the terrible martial arts and the story and all of that. Now they're looking for a new Karate Kid, Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. Yep. They've advertised that. But it didn't make sense to me when they came out with the Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith.
Yeah.
Right? Is it Jaden Smith?
Yep.
And excuse me, but Jackie's Kung Fu.
Yep.
So I guess you're just using the title.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It is what it is.
Okay. So, no, that's a great answer.
Yeah. Thanks.
In all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy you learned that goes to the top of your list?
Honor.
Nice.
Without honor, Brian, you can have none of the other virtues. Okay. If you're not willing to be humble, this is something that is missing now. This understanding of discipline, but of honor, respect for all. And a peaceful warrior will always help anyone who he sees or knows needs help. I mean, I'm doing what I'm like, just not that this is a big deal, but I told the promoter for the Mile High Martial Arts Expo, I said, I really feel uncomfortable asking for money for my signature when all these people have come. I said, so can we find a nonprofit or something like that? And he's like, yeah. He finally found one, and I'm going to donate whatever comes into a program that they're starting there at that college, that Regis College, where
That's
the Mile
awesome.
High Martial Arts Expo is being held. Now, look, if it was the girl from The Exorcist, I can't remember, and
Linda Blair.
Yeah, Linda Blair, or if it was the gal from Star Wars, they can charge for signing something, like an autograph or whatever. That seems okay to me.
Yeah.
Just honor. I am no better than any other man, other than what distinguishes myself if I help someone. How many people have you helped today? How many people did you make smile? Did you open the door for that person? Why didn't you? And so forth. So that's manners, but it's also honor. The honor of being able to be surrounded by people and know that you respect all of them and you're ready to protect them. Really. That sounds kind of maybe, I don't know, over the top or
no, not
stupid
at all.
Or something.
No, I think it's good.
But but if everybody would just honor and respect each other's beliefs, each other's ways of life, and not judge and not do this or do that. But that's the nature of human being. I mean, we are the apex predator.
Yeah.
But once you've been in the school, you've been through a system, you've done everything that you've done. What are you if you don't look in the mirror and like what you see and say, you know what? I am a good person and I'm an honorable man. I'm always going to be that way. I think I was raised that way, but then the martial arts creed and, the ideals are perfect. They are a perfect fit for me. If they're taught and they're absorbed by the students, that's fine. But for me, honor is the greatest virtue, for which there can be no other virtues without honor.
I love that answer. All right. I have a few fun questions to wrap it up.
Cool.
This one doesn't have to be exactly 4. I've had people give as few as 2 and as many as 8, so it's kind of up to you. But who are a few names that you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Oh my gosh. Now you really got me under the light bulb. Oh boy. Well, of course, the immortal Bruce Lee.
Nice.
There's this whole Ip Man craze now and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, I would have to say him. I would say Fumio Demura.
He was on my show. I had the honor of interviewing him. It was so cool.
Oh, he is such a gentleman.
Yes.
He is such a gentleman. So Fumio Demura. And I think I would have to really put, because there's so many greats.
Yeah.
Then there are we all stand on the shoulders of giants, but then there are the real giants, who started it all. So those two are all that I can think of now, other than, I've been blessed to be taught by so many incredible people, but to memorialize them in stone, I can only think of those two Asian gentlemen and at this moment.
If you're going to pick 2, I don't think you could do any better. That's a pretty impressive 2. So
yeah, I say stick with it. Keep it simple.
Yeah, there you go. All right. How about a favorite martial arts book?
Favorite martial arts book?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that would have to be the Kukkiwan Manual
Nice.
for all belt ranks. No, I'm just kidding. My favorite martial arts book. Wow. I don't think I have one. I mean, I didn't learn anything. If you're talking about a novel, you're talking about an instructional manual or something like that.
It's up to you. I've had people pick biographies. I've had, a lot of people pick Tao Jeet Kune Do. I've had Zen in the martial arts, all kinds of answers.
Well, and as you know, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, I don't think Bruce wrote. I think that was written after.
He never meant it to be a book. It was a compilation of his notes that they put into a book and released many years after he passed away.
Correct.
So, I mean, it was technically the stuff in it was written by Bruce. It just wasn't never supposed to be a book, from what I understand.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
So I apologize.
Problem. You won't be the first. So, all right. And this one you might not have an answer for either. This is usually 50-50. Do you have a favorite martial arts video game?
I don't really play video games, my man.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. So
No, that's okay.
I mean, it would probably have to be Mortal Kombat or one of those others where I'm a character.
There you go.
Or Street Fighter or one of those. You know, I'm a character in there. I've seen so many of these YouTube clip videos or whatever where there's this dude who kind of looks like me in animated form, and it says King across his chest.
Nice.
You know, so that's
funny.
kind of cool to have been copycatted. You know
That
what
is
I mean?
cool.
So yeah.
All right, these last few might be a little tough. You can't pick anything you've been involved in. Favorite martial arts TV show? And we know it's not Cobra Kai.
Kung Fu.
Okay, good. That's a
The
solid
first
answer.
one with David Carradine.
Okay. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Well, of course, you know, Enter the Dragon.
Nice.
And all of Bruce's The Chinese Connection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would be amazing. The two most amazing. Enter the Dragon, though, for sure.
Okay. And final question. This one, I'm definitely looking forward to your answer on this one. A favorite. Now, doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, just a favorite movie fight scene.
Well, I like these. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's too many that I would have to really think about that because there's so many that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, Chinese Connection, Bruce Lee. But when I see the Equalizer, like I just saw Equalizer 3 last night.
Yeah.
I love how he sets his watch and he does the whole thing and it's slow mode or this or that. That is just, to me, the Equalizer movies are amazing as far as the fights, or rather the effective, real, seemingly real, right, aspect to that. And then other than that, I mean, I think, one of my favorite fights has got to be Bruce in Chinese Connection. Nice. So whether he's fighting the white guy or fighting all the Japanese in their dojo.
I like it.
It started it all, man.
When it kicks off your martial arts journey, it's got to have a certain spot there. So that's good. Well, Loren, first of all, I just got to say thank you, man. This has been a blast. Wow. It's just so fun to talk to. I could literally talk to you for hours about martial arts, and I don't think either one of us would get bored. It's so much fun.
No, sir.
But before I let you go, any last minute parting words you want to throw out there? Anything maybe I forgot to mention?
No. I mean, you covered it all pretty much like a wet blanket. But the thing I'd just like to mention to your listeners is just to say thank you so much for listening to Brian's podcast, first of all. Second of all, I hope everybody tries something that they thought I don't want to call it bucket list, but I hope that everybody at least tries or finds a school so they can be everyday martial artists as well.
Nice. I love it. Well, sir, I truly appreciate your time, and I can't wait till the episode comes out.
Well, I'm so glad, Brian. You are such a gentleman, and it's such a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for the opportunity, brother.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.